My guest is Barbara Patton. Ms. Patton is president of the Brunswick County Community Foundation. Did I get that right?
That's correct.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
You have a great story to tell us, and we talked a little bit before we went on the air. Tell us a little bit about the foundation, its history, and its purpose. Okay.
A community foundation is provided in each of the counties of North Carolina, 60 of the counties in North Carolina, to provide for local nonprofits through a grant-making process or through donor-advised funds. The good part about a community foundation is that funds that are funneled into your county stay in your county.
Right, absolutely. You have a board of directors.
I do, we do.
And have you been the president for a while?
No, I just started this year. I've been on the board for several years,
Okay.
so I was excited to get to take on this responsibility.
Well, we caught you at just the right time.
Yes, you did.
All right. The overarching purpose, as I understand it, is for your foundation to support the small, numerous nonprofits here. For example, how many nonprofits do we have in the county? I think our viewing audience would be surprised to know.
I think they would be too, as I was. There are over 100 nonprofits, 501c3s through the
Right.
state of North Carolina in Brunswick County, meeting the needs of a variety, all the way from the larger ones like ATMC and Brunswick Electric,
Sure.
to the smaller ones that you might find that are running food programs in food pantries in local churches.
And you don't solicit applications, but you receive applications from these nonprofits to support them.
Yes, we do. We have, through the Community Foundation, it's a system of either donor advised funds, say you or I would like to start a fund that we advise ourselves, and it's managed through the North
Okay.
Carolina Community Foundation.
Okay.
Or the other way that we provide our grant money is through our unrestricted endowment through the Brunswick County Community Foundation.
Okay. Your donations, your contributions to those nonprofits, at one level, are not large sums of money.
No, but what we know is that even a small amount of money can make a huge difference to a smaller nonprofit.
That's what I want our viewers to know. Give us some examples of that.
I'd be happy to give you an example. There's a wonderful organization that provides backpack meals for children in need on the weekends. One of the things that they do, the cost that they incur on this runs about, I believe, $5.25 per backpack per child. There are over 525 children that receive these backpacks
Wow.
each weekend through this program. So our ability to even pay for 1 week of these particular, of the backpacks to provide a small grant that helps cover that
Right.
makes a big difference in the lives of children.
Well, let's back up a second and talk some more about that. The term that I just learned this morning is food insecurity.
Correct. One of the things that we did as a community foundation, we wanted to make sure that we were being good stewards of the funds that are given to our unrestricted endowment. So each year when we take grants, we wanted to make sure that we were looking at the needs of Brunswick County. We did a comprehensive needs assessment and looked at data that as it related to children, the elderly, the physical environment, all these components that make up our county. One of the things we found for sure is that 65% of our children are on free or reduced lunch here in Brunswick County. 30% of our children live in poverty, and one of the #1 problems in our county is food insecurity for our children.
And I want to call it what it is. It's hunger.
It's hunger. It's
plain
hunger.
and simple.
Children, what the data shows is that children rely upon, the children in free and reduced lunches they are allowed to have breakfast at
Right.
school, and then they have lunch. What happens on the weekend? Quite often what they're finding is sometimes these backpacks are going home and they're supposed to provide food for the child for the weekend, but it's providing food for the family for the weekend.
Right. Regrettably, but true.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very frightening. And the elderly, when I talked to you a little earlier about the elderly, you know, we look at the statistics in our county, and one of the more glaring statistics is that in the next decade, we're going to see a 300% increase in our elderly population 85 and older, 160% increase in our elderly population between
It's a demographic wave.
It's And we're going to
Yeah.
have to do something as a
Right.
community and as a county to support these people.
I want to get this in now and then again at the end of the presentation. Your grant cycle comes up soon.
Yes, it
So let's
does.
talk about that, because this is the period in which our viewers who may be associated with a nonprofit want to apply for a grant.
That's correct.
So let's get that in.
I'd be happy to. Starting on March 3rd through April 4th, our application process for grants begins. If you're a 501c3, which is a nonprofit under the law of North Carolina, you can apply by going to the North Carolina Community Foundation website. It's very easy to navigate through this. It has a whole section on grants. It describes who is eligible and what your eligibility requirements are, and then it guides you through the process. It's probably a 2-page online application.
And we'll get that on the screen
Great.
as well.
And they're vetted. Then what happens is there's a vetting process. They go through and they make sure that they are indeed have all their ducks in a row.
March 3rd, April 4th.
That's correct.
Right, we want to get that in, and then we'll get it in again. Let's talk about scholarships. Tell us about, because I know several young individuals that have received scholarships.
Well, under the Brunswick County Community Foundation, our unrestricted fund, we don't provide scholarships, but under this umbrella, through the North Carolina Community Foundation in Brunswick County, you can have what's called a donor-advised fund. So several of those...
Does that mean donor-directed?
Correct.
That means the donor can direct how he or she or that organization wants the money to be spent.
Correct. I know of one person in the state of North Carolina who, for her 70th birthday, didn't want a lot of presents.
Sure.
And instead, she said, I'd like to start a donor-advised fund that will be there in perpetuity, that my family can continue to contribute, that my estate will continue to contribute, and this is what I want it directed to. My goal and my passion in life is making sure that children receive a good education.
All right.
So this is what I want.
This next question goes beyond what your foundation does, but let's remind our viewers, and there are thousands of them, retirees here in Brunswick County, that they can, through their estate, provide for such opportunities for young children or others.
Absolutely. It's your financial advisor or your lawyer can help set that up. The North Carolina Community Foundation makes this easy because there's red tape that's generally involved in setting this up. There are tax issues, there are things that you want. It's actually a good tax break, I believe. So again, on the website, if you go to the website, it talks to you about how to become a donor, how to set up your donor-advised fund. You know, what a legacy we can leave for our children to say,
right.
here is something that meant so much to me. I'd like you to continue to see it to move it forward.
Legacy is a key word. And in the broadest sense, what your foundation is doing is contributing to the overall quality of life here in Brunswick County.
Absolutely. Every dollar that is received into the unrestricted endowment for Brunswick County stays in Brunswick County, looks at the needs of Brunswick County. We are very, very focused on that and making sure that that money stays in Brunswick County and actually addresses some of the tremendous needs that are facing our citizens here.
Let's give our viewers those dates for the grant cycle again.
Yes, March 3rd is the start date. You can go online and it will direct you on how to apply. And it ends on April the 4th at noon. If there's helplines there are people that can assist you. There are all kinds of people through the North Carolina Community Foundation that only want us to succeed.
Barbara, I want to talk a little bit more about the application process. Could you tell us more?
Sure. Your organization, if it's a 501c3 through the state of North Carolina, you access the website, northcarolina.communityfoundation.org, and it will guide you through the steps. Certain things that you're going to need, that you're going to have, that they're going to require, is a budget that's going to talk about what your funds are going to be used for, your overall operating budget. We want to make sure that as stewards of this money that we are giving to organizations that are thoughtful and that are organized and that are fiscally responsible as well.
Fiscally responsible, of course.
As well. So we want to make sure that that's in place. When they look at this, they will actually vet these organizations. They check your qualifications. They check your rating. They make sure that the funds are going where they're saying they're going to. As a part of the application process, you may be asked to list your board of directors because
Of course.
501c3s are required to have a board. And after that, it's just basically describing the scope of your project. Are you wanting to, for example, I talked to you a little bit about a worm farm, you know,
Sure.
and it was a school program, an after-school program that was setting up a worm farm to provide good organic material for the community garden. Described to us the program, and they described it perfectly. When we visited and did a follow-up, we could see that they actually did that.
Yeah,
and
right.
the students learned not just how to grow worms, they learned how to do some sustainable agriculture, how to apply for money and get a
Sure.
grant, and then how to be responsible on that follow-up. So there will be follow-up.
But just to make this point, it's not overly complicated. One need
No.
not be a grant writer to apply for
Not
this.
at all.
that's
And there is
important to know.
assistance through
Okay.
the foundation. If you have questions, there's a chat that you can have with them. You know how most of these websites have that now.
Sure.
And they're willing to talk to you on the phone. They're willing to help you in any way to help you make this.
Any great organization has a long-term vision, along with any concerns that you might have in terms of long-term transition. Let's speak to that for a moment.
Well, I think a couple of things. First of all, the Community Foundation allows for you to have your funds there in perpetuity. They're not going to go away. It's a matter of if you put the money in, it will continue to grow, and you will be given a certain amount of money each year to do all the things that you want to do.
And a lot
with
of that
them.
credibility rises from the fact that it's managed through the North Carolina
Correct.
Foundation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They are they've been around since 1988. Their assets are in excess of $225 million. So they manage a lot of money for the
Right.
state of North Carolina.
That's very assuring.
It is. It's very reassuring. And, you know, they're very focused on, particularly in North Carolina, looking at rural philanthropy. Because we are
That's good for us.
Yes, we're a rural state.
Right.
We're a rural county. We're a very
Right.
rural county. As I mentioned before, I think we live with 17. And there's a whole different demographic that lives on 17 towards the ocean, and then 17 on the huge part of Brunswick County that we
That's
also
true.
have to focus on.
That's true. Barbara Patton, thank you for being with us. It's a great story you have to tell. And you're a volunteer also, by the way.
I am.
Thanks for what you do, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.